Welcome to Agilah Wa Agilah YouTube channel. Today, let's look at 1 Kings chapter 12. And Rehoboam went to Shechem, for all Israel had gone to Shechem to make him king. So it happened when Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, heard it. He was still in Egypt, for he had fled from the presence of King Solomon and had been dwelling in Egypt, that they sent and called him. Then Jeroboam and the whole assembly of Israel came and spoke to Rehoboam, saying, Your father made our yoke heavy. Now therefore lighten the burdensome service of your father, and his heavy yoke which he put on us, and we will serve you. So he said to them, Depart for 3 days, then come back to me. And the people departed. So we are seeing an incident where the son of Solomon, by the name Rehoboam, wants to be made a king over Israel. It is funny because among the children of Solomon, who had 1,000 wives, we only have to read about Rehoboam. And so before that, there is Jeroboam, who had been tipped on becoming the king over Israel. And because of that, he fled, he ran away, because if that plan was going to be known to King Solomon, then for sure Solomon will kill him. Why? Because the kingdom belonged to David's house. So there was no way an outsider was going to become the king. Let's continue from verse number 6 and 7. Then King Rehoboam consulted the elders who stood before his father Solomon while he was still alive, and said, How do you advise me to answer these people? And they spoke to him, saying, If you will be a servant of these people today, and will serve them, and answer them, and speak good works to them, then they will be your servants forever. So Jeroboam here, he wants to become the king. And the people of Israel wants that assurity from him that he's going to lighten the heavy burden that was put to them by his father, King Solomon. So the elders reached out to him. Not actually the elders, but the people of Israel. They consulted with him. And he did a wise thing, because he told them, I cannot answer you now. Give me 3 days and I will answer you. And in these 3 days, he called to the elders that were there with King Solomon. And he asked of them what he can do. And they gave him a wise decision, that your father gave a lot of burden to the people. But if you want to be a good king to them, then you have to be a good king. You have to lighten up whatever your father put on them. Let's continue from verse 8 to 11. But he rejected the advice which the elders had given him, and consulted the young men who had grown up with him, who stood before him, and he said to them, What advice do you give me? How should we answer these people who have spoken to me, saying, Lighten the yoke which your father put on us? Then the young men who had grown up with him spoke to him, saying, Thus you should speak to these people who have spoken to you, saying, Your father made our yoke heavy, but you make it lighter on us. Thus you shall say to them, My little finger shall be thicker than my father's waist. And now, whereas my father put a heavy yoke on you, I will add to your yoke. My father chastised you with whips, but I will chastise you with scourges. So the elders gives him a very nice advice, but he doesn't buy that advice. And so he calls his peer group, the people that grew up together with him. And then he asked them the same questions, what he should answer. And these young people that grew up with him misadvise him. They tell him that make the problem bigger. You should punish them. You should make the yoke heavier. And they told him to increase the pain that these people, that his father Solomon had already put on people. Let's see. Now Rehoboam has two advice. Which one is he going to take? And so from verse number 12 to 15, so Jeroboam, remember, the one that had run away, and all the people came to Rehoboam the third day, as the king had directed, saying, Come back to me the third day. Then the king answered the people roughly and rejected the advice which the elders had given him. And he spoke to them according to the advice of the young men, saying, My father made your yoke heavy, but I will add to your yoke. My father chastised you with whips, but I will chastise you with scourges. So the king did not listen to the people, for the turn of event was from the Lord, that he might fulfill his word, which the Lord had spoken by Ahijah the Shilohite to Jeroboam the son of Nebat. So this is happening behind the scene. God is involved in that decision. But the thing is, Rehoboam had the mind. He did a very good thing to call the elders. But whatever happens, he decided to take the wrong decision and follow what the young people had advised him. And lastly, I will read 16 and 19. Now when all Israel saw that the king did not listen to them, the people answered the king and saying, What share have we in David? We have no inheritance in the son of Jesse. To your tents, O Israel. Now see to your own house, O David. So Israel departed to their tent, but Rehoboam reigned over the children of Israel who dwell in the city of Judah. Then King Rehoboam sent Adoram, who was in charge of the revenue, but all Israel stoned him with stones and he died. Therefore King Rehoboam mounted his chariot in haste to flee to Jerusalem. So Israel has been in a rebellion against the house of David to this day. Wow. And so here we see problems happening in the kingdom of David, David that passionately defended the law of God. But his children, his grandson Rehoboam, deciding to move away from that and to pursue his own pleasure, to pursue his own interests. What does that teach us? It teaches that there is always one way that is better than the other. And it's better to read from the people that were there before you. Whenever you are given leadership, yes, you can lead, you can do everything on your own. But it's important to check, how did this thing start? How did it go? It was not very difficult. for Rehoboam to check the account of his grandfather David, to see how did God so love David? How did God establish the kingdom of David? So instead of that, he went to the people that does not have any authority, people that have never been in leadership, and he decided to seek advice from them. And that is what we do, the mistakes we do. Sometimes when you're in a church or in an organization, you think that the people before you are your enemies, that they don't like you, that your boss does not like you, like your senior pastor does not like you, like your pastor does not like you. So what you decide is you decide to seek advice from other people, not where you've been feeding from, not the people that have been taking care of you. They know a lot about you. They saw you when you are born. They saw you when you are young. They know your weakness. They know your weaker points. So they can be able to advise you. They can be able to mentor you. So Rehoboam rejected that mentorship, and then it led to destruction. Are you that person that follow your own ego? Are you that person that follow your own heart? Or you seek to find out, how did these people succeed, the people that are ahead of me? How did they manage to succeed? What was the secret? And after learning the secret, then you have to use that secret. You have to adapt to the secret. See, because of that rebellion, because of that decision, wrong decision actually, Rehoboam led to the split of the united kingdom of Israel. So he remained with only 2 tribes, the tribe of Judah and Benjamin, and the rest, they departed and they made Jeroboam, who was an outsider, to become their king. There is a lot you can learn from the people that are ahead of you. Never despise the people that took care of you. Never despise the people that saw you growing up. Never despise them. Maybe you've grown, you become so big. Maybe you've grown, you become so rich. Maybe you've grown, you have everything at your disposal. Never reject the people that were there before you. Learn from them. Take their mistakes, correct it for your advantage. Take their strength and use it for your strength. Feel welcome. This is Agilah Wa Agilah. Remember to subscribe. Remember to share the video so that we can make this world a better place for all of us. Thank you.